He's an experienced bug hunter and penetration tester with over 6 years of experience in identifying critical vulnerabilities across web applications within the BFSI sector, having contributed to bug bounty programs and security communities. Expertise includes delivering IT security consulting, best practices, and standard implementation, and SAST and DAST, vulnerability assessment, penetration testing, and regulatory compliance. So welcome.
Thank you, Catherine. So before we begin, how many of you have literally, hacked anything in your life? Like what? What have you hacked, sir? Yep, you.
Oh, computers.
Like what?
Like somebody got locked out of their computer, so I had to get it.
Okay, so brute force, you have logged out for an account, specifically?
Yeah, well, I ended up, this was like years ago, this experience, but
Okay,
just had to bypass the.
okay. Someone else here? Like what, sir?
Sure. We had some Windows servers that nobody knew the administrator password to.
Okay,
We found some creative ways to recover them and bring them back into the fold.
okay. All right, that's interesting. Okay, so, hacking or talking in terms of bug bounty hunters, specifically, whenever you think in a mind that some application or some website is getting hacked, so that's where a real hacker comes into picture. That is, hand in hand with as a bug hunter, and normally as a black hat hacker, you would say that's the thing. As a bug hunter also, you try to hack into the system without letting FBI come to your house, So you ethically report them. As a bug hunter, you have to ethically report the observations or the loopholes you have got into any sort of application or any organizations, whatever it is. So here, what we are doing is specifically, we as a bug hunter, we do a security review of any sort of applications, be it mobile, Android, iOS, be it source code reviews within cloud securities, things like that. Whatever the assets have, the organization has. So you literally test it out, you literally exploit it out. See what you can exactly do with that particular data or particular application itself. So after exploiting it, you got to know that this particular web application is vulnerable to some authentication bypasses. So the application is not handling the authentication properly. You are able to bypass the authentication. You are getting into the system without any authentication. Or maybe on a banking application, you are able to send funds to anyone without even having an account in that particular bank, right? So you are making things like this kind of thing. So as a bug hunter, you specifically have to review these applications, review these endpoints, and see how and what kind of things you can literally exploit and see if there are any loopholes in that case or not. So that's what we gonna do today. We are gonna focus more on terms of manually pen testing and what all things you can do. Literally, what kind of vulnerabilities you can explore. What exactly there are multiple business use cases that you can bypass. That we're gonna see here. And lastly, ethically reporting. That is what you have to keep in mind. Because if you hack someone and if you're not going to report them, not gonna let them know that these kind of things are there in their application, and when after checking their logs and they got to know that you have hacked someone, I'm sure FBI is gonna come at your home, of course. So let's start. As Catherine has already informed, my name is Saurabh. I have 6+ years of experience into application security, doing pen testing, doing vulnerability assessments, doing digital forensic readiness reviews. Apart from that, I have secured more than 80+ organizations, including Apple, Google, Meta, which is now Facebook, Microsoft, Amazon, MasterCard, Visa. The list goes on. So as a bug hunter, the curious mind never dies, never ends like that. So the more you do, the more you will get addicted to it. Yeah, okay. So the objectives I've already set to the specifically this call. we will try to understand how the program guidelines would be there. So as a bug hunter, there has to have some guidelines to him that if any organization, let's take an example as a Walmart or any sort of e-commerce website, we can take an example. So whenever the responsible disclosure, they have a bug bounty program they are maintaining onto, they would definitely rely upon the bug hunter that, or blindly trust in that sense that this particular hacker or any bug hunter, whoever is finding out vulnerabilities, they will properly report us and let us know that these kind of things are there. And of course, they would not hack, or they would not exfiltrate the data, take the data out of that particular application, or in the sense financially or any exploitation would not be done there. So program guidelines and rules of engagement specifically helps in that particular part. As a bug hunter, you have to follow specific rule sets. These are the basic rule sets that you do social engineering things or phishing mails, things like that. So you should not do as a bug hunter that is not applicable in a bug bounty programs, specifically for things related to social engineering. So coming on to recon and information gathering. So the recon part, like information gathering part, as a bug hunter, specifically is considered as, in a bug bounty community. So we consider this is a very, very, I would say, not used part of a very crucial part. It is very crucial part, but it is not considered as crucial one, because it takes a hell lot of effort in gathering information of any organization. You have to gather information, whatever information you can get from internet. So think as a perspective that you don't know any XYZ organization. You just have the URL or the domain of the application. How would you find out the details? What are the options that you can find out the details from? Okay, so there are multiple ways to search and get the information from internet itself. Like, so at the beginning you want to understand, and you have to understand that what kind of programming languages this application is developed upon. Okay, so there are multiple tools, or even if someone is into software development, he has a knowledge of programming, he would be able to easily understand which kind of programming languages are being used in this particular application development stage. Apart from that, there are multiple Chrome extensions that you can use, Vapalizer, things like that. So that will help you out to understand which programming language exactly is being used for this particular development of the application. Apart from that, Vapalizer will also help you out in finding out the versions of the jQuery or any other extra libraries it's already developed onto. So it will help you out to understand the libraries, existing libraries also. So what it will help is, so anyway, anyone aware of zero-day attacks? Okay, or anyone know about vulnerable versions or existing vulnerabilities from GitHub or any Google exploit DB? Is it? Okay. So you know about the existing vulnerabilities, right? In existing versions of jQuery, Java, or multiple programming languages has absolute versions of vulnerable versions. So these kind of versions you will get in the Vapalizer itself. Directly jumping onto the manually exploration, we will first set the guidelines and then the objective first, and then so of course after that you will try to exploit vulnerabilities whatever you have got from a lot of gathering information. You will start to understand and explore what all vulnerabilities are there. You will manually do penetration testing there. Anyone knows about penetration testing, or we are good? Okay, so we'll start doing practically trying out the observations, or you start to exploit the vulnerabilities there and try to see what kind of vulnerabilities is available in that particular application, or it is vulnerable to some sort of existing vulnerabilities from exploit.db or any existing vulnerabilities like that, or any absolute versions is being used or not, or any vulnerable versions or any vulnerable libraries is being, or programming languages we have multiple versions of, so that any older versions are being used or not, like things like that you will be seeing. And apart from that, After understanding exploitation, and then you will start for reporting and then impact analysis. So before reporting, you will understand and do the analysis on the impact, what exactly the vulnerabilities is getting, it is impacting onto. Let's say if a banking application is there, and the transaction is happening from A to B, and we are doing a transaction from A to C, or C to B. Got my point? We are clear? So the authorizer or the end user, which the transaction is happening, we are just changing out from user A to user C, or user C to user B. So here we are doing a lot of things. We are, directly targeting on the authentication, authorization, then probably the parameter tampering, because the person who is authorized to send to B, who is sending to C, who is able to now send to C without even having an amount in his account. From authentication bypasses to authorization bypasses to parameter tampering from financially data or counts and the numbers. So that's how we're gonna see as a business logic use cases, and then impact analysis, and then reporting. Reporting is the most important part in this bug hunting career, I would say. As I'm not an active bug bounty hunter currently, right now I'm a student at the University of Buffalo. So that's how, and we'll see some tips and resources related to bug bounty hunting, and then bug reports, and then earnings. We will discuss existing, my earnings, or I would say whatever reports I have till now ethically reported, and then probably friends of mine who has reported, who have got the bounties till now, or apart from that, we will also be discussing multiple organizations who are providing bug bounty, how much the amount would be, and how much are you seeing exactly in the amounts and numbers. So here it is. Of course, hacker is hacker. They won't see the rules. They won't bother about the rules actually. So that's where clear guidelines. If you analyze everything from the beginning, and then you will be in a rule set, whatever the organization has set. Of course, you're gonna get bounties. But if you don't abide by the rules, of course, you're gonna be blocked on that particular account, or from as a hacker community, you would be blocked. You won't be get paid for that particular any vulnerabilities you would be reporting onto. Is everyone aware of Bugcrowd or HackerOne, or like multiple platforms, bug bounty platforms? Okay, perfect. So there you get blocked, literally blocked, after 4 to 5 attempts on bug hunting if you are not abiding by the rules. So these are the platforms where you can literally find programs which is aligned with this particular platform. You have to find you get to find vulnerabilities on that particular organization, and report them through this platform itself. So of course they are managing the platform, so whatever the rules and engagement is there, you have to follow that. If you are not following, they will block you. So that's where define in scope elements, out of scope domains, subdomains, operations, and APIs. So which clarifies the restricted endpoints and PII handling data information and limitations about that. So kind of technique on testing process which is allowed or not, things like that. It will be highlighted there. Of course, you have to avoid disruptions in businesses, and non-destructing testings includes. So while reporting, you have to include each and every reproduction steps. Whatever you have, the process you find out the vulnerabilities, you have to exactly either record it, or you have to report in such a way that someone who does not even understand security is able to exploit the same thing what you have done. It will make you very clear, very precise in finding vulnerabilities, understanding. So the person who is reviewing your observations or your vulnerability or your whatever you have reported, he has to understand each and every aspects of the security and then impact, of course. Lastly, no data exfiltration or destruction of the data or any organization. So as I said, there are multiple things in during the analysis. So recon and information gathering will set you lays you a foundation specifically for any bug bounty program to continue and do and find out vulnerabilities there. So first you need to understand what kind of target application you are targeting onto, because that's where anyone who will be confused. In fact, we were doing some training, so a lot of people, or a bug bounty hunter itself, so whenever he wants to start, he will start like vaguely. Like he wants to do, he wants to hack a Google, or he wants to hack Yahoo. But what? These kind of organizations are already present since decades now. They are well established. They will be well secured, right? So of course, you have to find out a way that they have multiple products, right? So they have multiple acquisitions, they have multiple platforms. So you need to find out where exactly the developers or the most of the community will not be engaged or in that platform itself. So in that case, you will start finding out the domains, domains and their subdomains. I will give you an example. Can you see this? So this is just a random test. Don't take this thing out. And so I was just trying to understand what kind of domains a BlackRock even have, or multiple other domains, like Starbucks, if you see. So Starbucks itself, you see this company just to get a coffee, but still, they have a lot of stuff. They have hell lot of platforms within them, okay, and hell lot of products also. So you can see what kind of things they have in their account or under their domain. So does anyone know what is this called as? What is this? I mean, before the Starbucks, whatever the data it is showing, what it is called as? Subdomains. Okay. So they have a huge number of subdomains actually. So you can, as a bug hunter, we try to find out which kind of subdomains are there, what kind of platforms it's being used onto, what kind of product it is having, and is there any a huge customer base services which is being used in those subdomains or not? Because in bug bounty hunting, you get a lot of competition. So you have to be very precise on whatever you are finding onto, and of course, so the domain you're choosing, that is the most important thing, because of course if you choose a main domain of the Starbucks itself, it's well-known organization, and of course it is well established in terms of security. So you have to find in such a way that some subdomain of the particular Starbucks or any organization which is not being used, or very less publicly available, and the known of that particular application is very less. So in that way, you can target that application, that particular subdomain, and see if at all the subdomain has a lot of data or a lot of sensitive information within that or not. In that case, you can directly find out. If you find out any vulnerabilities there, you will be able to get a bounty against that. So here you go. After understanding and targeting the application, you start to do manual pen testing. So either from some automation tools like Sublister, Subbrute Forcer, you can get easily on the on GitHub, which you may find out vulnerabilities, or not vulnerabilities exactly, but subdomains, list of subdomains. So first we did to understand what was the programming languages. We eventually went on to understanding the organization, what kind of organization is there, what kind of data it is dealing on to, what kind of impact it can make if it is being hacked. And then again, after that, we started to search manually subdomains of that application, right? So we will start to understand that and collect the data, do the analysis, identification in the vulnerabilities of, exploring that, and then effective bug bounty process you have followed. So, yep, understanding the application, identifying the correlated hosted applications, discover related applications, So how you will discover? So there are multiple applications or multiple platforms that you can use to discover this kind of things, such as, so there is something called as build with, there is something called as Crunchbase, where you get to understand which acquisitions are there. So let's take an example. Google has acquired some XYZ companies. You get the details there. If it is still not available on the internet, that or within the bug bounty programs of Google, that this particular scope is included in that particular bug bounty hunting process, but they have not updated the newly acquired organization, which might be very small or in the mid size, which has not focused more on the security aspects of that. So that you can that you can see from Crunchbase, and you of course the news, and then probably from multiple platforms about the acquisition part. Through that you can see, and if you can even try that also, that if at all the security of the implemented application or the integrated application is not at all, not up to the mark, you can literally find out vulnerabilities, and that same thing will be falling under Google Bug Bounty's hunting program. So as I said, built with Webalizer, WhatWeb. So these kind of details you will get within the application to find out details, and then information gathering part. So there is called as Voxy tool or Voxy website will show you who all when the application was registered, the domain was registered, when was that who had owned that particular application, things like that. Under the which domain it was registered, things like that you will get on that information. Okay, now here we go to comprehensive security vulnerabilities overview. Here what you can do is, you start trying to understand application as an end perspective of what kind of endpoints it has. I'll give an example how you would do that. Okay, let's take this example as a APK pure. This application especially has a lot of APK files, which is from at the very beginning of the application, or whatever it is developed, an Android application or iOS applications as well. So whenever it is developed, you get to see all the versions from the very beginning. It is a kind of repository which stores each and every version of the application. So soon as you open a website, you just control U to inspect the element, and then inspect the resource or the source code of the application itself. You get to see a lot of link, right? Here you can start trying to open the endpoints of the URL. You will see a lot of endpoints are there which you can't, literally it is here visible already, but you can't see the URL specifically at one at a time. You can open the URL and the endpoints here. You try to see, you just try to remove the endpoint and then try to traverse the path. So once you do this thing, there are a lot of vulnerabilities. There are vulnerabilities called as path traversal attacks. So here, whatever your vulnerabilities you have found, or you have traversed the path, you can, I mean, if the directory listing is not properly enabled, the website wherever it is hosted, it will show complete directory of the whole application wherever it was hosted onto. And same way you can traverse the path and see if any sort of sensitive files in the source code are there or not. So publicly accessible endpoints, identifying information around that. Through the source code, if at all there are any sort of sensitive informations like credentials, hard-coded passwords, things like that, you can check. Of course, path traversal I have already told you. Authorization bypasses. So what happens is, wherever the application, so let's suppose that Facebook is there.
Can you use the microphone, please? Thank you.
So let's suppose Facebook is there. Facebook has this process that you have to authenticate yourself and then get into the application, and we will explore the application, whatever the functionality it is there, you will try to do. But through viewing source code directly, there are some endpoints where you can directly access the specific endpoint. As in example, like there is a process of authentication, right? So wherever you provide your credentials, your username, and then you are authorized to get into the application and do your functionality, whatever it is. And so the application, whatever it is, so whenever you provide your credentials and username and you click on the login button, so there is a process where application will authenticate yourself, the particular user, whatever it is there, and then provide a redirection to specific endpoint, which is like index file or the main homepage file of the Facebook. You can directly check if it is, directly accessible or not. So of course, that's the most easiest way to find out any sort of vulnerabilities. Of course, the authentication bypasses. You successfully have bypassed the authentication process, whole mechanism itself that you can that is implemented to authorize and authenticate the user itself. There is something called as host error injection, wherein you act as a man in the middle attack and you redirect anyone who is trying to access some Facebook.com. So you are redirecting it to any sort of malicious site. That's where a host error injection attack happens. URL redirection, of course, so there are multiple vulnerabilities into URL redirection, where exactly, let's take an example like Uber. When you are paying or you are interacting with any sort of payment gateways, payment gateway is always a third-party site. So wherein, if you try to focus on see, wherever you are doing a payment, it is getting redirected to any other websites before you enter the details and all those stuff. So when you enter the details and the redirection, you are getting redirected with a man-in-the-middle attacks or any sort of malicious user, you are being redirected to any XYZ malicious website, and there your payment details will be grabbed or taken upon. Exif data mining. Exif data mining, I have interesting example for this. Facebook, okay. So whenever we take a photo, what kind of details would be there behind that photo as a metadata? Anyone knows about that? What kind of details are there? Like locations and what else? Owners, the pixel data, like all the data of the metadata of the photos, right? So there was a use case where someone had got a bounty of $20,000 from Facebook just by the metadata. Just he was able to see the metadata of some other users. So what happened was, there was some girl who had uploaded her photo long back in 2016 or 17. She had uploaded her photo of, she had uploaded an XYZ, normal photo which she had clicked. And then the guy from North America, so he opened that particular photo, he downloaded that photo, scraped out all, got all the metadata photos, the details of that. So it had longitude and latitude details of that particular photo, where it was captured. So from North America to he came to South, and then things happened. So that's where, that had came in news also. And again, that was reported, and some bug bounty hunter had got, of course, a bounty of $20,000. And that simple bounty, simple, he was able to get the metadata, that's it. So, of course, there are a lot of observations which is very simple in nature, which you can get within 1 or 2 seconds, or 1 or 2 minutes also. So that you can get paid of around $10,000, $20,000, more than that, of course. So I will show you an example, literally amazing example on a bug bounty program, where there was some guy who had reported vulnerabilities, and there was something called as session token. So let's say I have reported a vulnerability to HackerOne, and to exploit or to reproduce the vulnerabilities, I have provided each and every steps within all my session tokens and everything there in that application, in the report. But the triager was not able to reproduce that vulnerabilities. So what he did is he provided each and every step that he was performing onto through that application, through messages. Soon as he got to understand that, he did not understand that particular hacker who had reported, who did not understand that he has leaked his, the triager has leaked his administrative session tokens there, which was alone not getting validated. So some other XYZ hacker who was just going through with the report, he did nothing. He just went through with a report that he wanted to see some report which is something called as token bypasses or authentication token bypasses reports that he was referring on to. He was trying to study things. So he just saw that the triager has disclosed his authentication token, session token, in that particular message. And then he just grabbed that token, tried to log in, and he was able to log in into the application, the HackerOne application, which literally the triager provides bounties, right? So each and everyone who gets bounties, the triager is the one who gets who pays to this particular to the bounty hunters. I'll show you the report. So HackerOne specifically discloses all the programs, or most of the reports, whatever it is there, who has found critical vulnerabilities here. So see, HackerOne was notified that HackerOne bug bounty program by one HackerOne community member, a hacker, that they had accessed a HackerOne security analyst HackerOne's account. The session cookie was disclosed due to the human error, and that led the hacker to being able to access the account. So let's see, how much did he get a bounty of? So this is the process, how what all things were happen, all about the details about the observation, what was there, how did he disclose, or how did he found out the details, like that. So here you go. Here he had uploaded a summary of the session, and then the report was triaged. So HackerOne account people had acknowledged that observation is valid, and then here you go. $20,000. Is someone able? Everyone able to see or not? Oh, okay, my bad. Is it visible to everyone? So we have decided to award for $20,000 for making us aware that the disclosed session cookie. He did nothing. He did nothing. He just went through with the report, someone else's report. He was just trying to analyze the attack scenario. That's it. He got $20,000. Okay. Okay. So again, the recon and the process of information gathering. There are a lot of application or software developers who tend to use GitHub, GitLabs, and multiple other repository websites. So wherever they upload their software or any application source code, complete source code, so they tend to miss a lot of things like API keys, or sometimes they due to human error, of course. So a lot of application keys are there, a lot of authentication tokens are there. Sometimes the credential itself they have uploaded of the whole cloud environment. So things like that usually is disclosed on the GitHub repositories. So as a bug hunter, I would also if I take an example of a Starbucks, I would also try to see if at all any sort of repositories are there on the GitHub or not. If at all anything is there, I will try to look at it, and I will try to automate if at all is there any sort of sensitive information, or I will try to understand if any website I'm trying to do an assessment of, I'll try to understand if at all code is there. So by doing a manual assessment or manual secure code review of that particular application, I would be able to find out a lot of vulnerabilities from there in there itself without even interacting with the application. So of course the login endpoints, password handling, HTML injections, and then cross-site scripting. These are multiple vulnerabilities here available in the OWASP top 10. So you can there are multiple vulnerabilities, of course, to prohibit and to report to find out things like that. So there is something called as HTTP verb tampering, file inclusion attacks, which is where did you remember or see? Is it visible now? Okay. At the back, are you able to see this? Okay. Can you see this? So this is something stored on the this particular website. Image files directory is there, and then probably a weight parameter or a fake URL is one or not, or some parameters are there. So local file inclusion and then remote file inclusions, moreover, you directly get it from that particular, while manually reviewing the source code only. So you can get critical vulnerabilities like local file inclusions and then remote file inclusions. So remote file inclusion specifically talking about, you have some specific resources of the website which is using resource or file from any other website. So remotely it has stored some files, and then it is extracting the files from that particular server. So the main server, the main application is extracting any of the resources, or let's suppose a file which is trying to extract from that particular other servers. And so there is where a remote file inclusion, wherein so the attacker, the web application owner or the developer has specifically mentioned that the functionality to pull out the resources of specific file, which he did not put any sort of validation or any sort of input validation. So of course, which is coming on to, and which kind of data it is pulling onto, right? So here you just need to change the server, not the server specifically, but change and see if at all the whole directory structure itself is accessible or not. You can, of course, change the directories, you can check the configuration file itself, you change the files from that particular endpoint, you will be able to get and grab a lot of details of the hosted server. And of course, talking about local file inclusion, the same thing would be there. In place of fake URL, it will be present as a URL, and there would be a directories details with the endpoint of any sort of PDF or any Excel sheet like that. So locally, whatever the file was stored, you can extract that data and try to brute force the directories, whatever it is there, with the file name, of course. You can directly access that files without even doing a lot of stuff with authentication bypasses or getting into the application. So without even getting into the application, you can do a lot of things from without even on the login page itself. Okay. So talking about the critical file found, which specifically deals with wherever the web application is hosted. If at all the web application is hosted and there is something called as routing files or web configuration file wherever the application is being hosted. So these kind of application or these kind of files which is sensitive in nature, or any database connectivity files, which should not be accessible directly to any sort of external user or any attacker. There has to be have a directory implementation rule set that specific files within the hosted server should be accessible from the internet or wherever. So whenever the implementation of the rule set is not properly done, you can directly search from for the critical files like webconfig file or any sort of database connectivity file or any php.myadmin file directly. So you just have to brute force against the domain name. So let's take an example of Starbucks. So www.starbucks.com. You just have to brute force after the directory some set of specific file names. You will definitely get, if the directory listing and the implementation is not properly done, you can get configurations file from that, or any sort of sensitive data or any sensitive file which is placed on that particular server on that directory. You would be able to access that. So I had just tried to, Iron Man is my favorite one, so that's where we got into things. And so, of course, the manual way is the most prominent way and the most, I would, preferred one. But of course, the tools, it would be, if you're using any sort of tools or you're automating stuff, it will be helping out you to perform any sort of bug hunting programs. And to try to save time from finding issues, gathering information like that. So a lot of tools, techniques, combat skills, and then complex challenges. If you're not able to, if you're grabbing all the account details, the subdomains, you are understanding the programming languages, you have opened upon all the manual review part, like inspecting elements, understanding the programmings. If they are at all are not know any sort of absolute versions or vulnerable versions of application being used or libraries being used, so you can start with the manual pen testing within getting into the application and trying to do things. So that's where complex challenges and then innovation skill sets comes into picture, where you have to develop things where after understanding what you have done, what you have analyzed till now, what kind of data you have till now. So that's how you will have to process ahead. Okay, so here this is I'm considering as a JavaScript, because the tools here you get, it will, 60 to 70% it will help you out in getting information from each and everywhere. So the most favorite one is the Aquatone, Subroot, and then Sublister. Through these three tools, you can get most of the details of any organization. Web screenshot, eyewitness, AMAS, of course, also finds out the details of the subdomains, also lets you know about the DNS records, canonical names, everything from the AMAS. Tools for directory brute forcing and fuzzing. The one which I was saying about the brute forcing the directory listing or any endpoints that you can directly access sensitive information, that you can do from Trufflehog, GoBuster, Dirbuster, and then FF. So Dirbuster, directory search, and then GoBuster, that brute forces its existing amount of word list it has already maintained. So the directory, the word listing of for brute forcing, it has in numbers of thousands, not in thousands but in millions. So it tries to brute force each and every elements, whatever programming languages it has captured onto up till now. It will brute force that particular directory and try to see if at all same name, whatever, if at all it gets a credentials or any sort of sensitive information with the file name, same file name, it will show you the details. Again, so So there is something called as wayback URLs, and then Crunchbase. Of course, I have already told you. Voxy.com, DOMLink, and then Google Foo, and then bgp.henet. It helps you out to understand domain names and then the details of that application more clearly and properly. So yeah. So that's a meme for whenever the application is hosted or got into live domain or live environment itself. So that's how sometimes developers make it live. This is the way. They don't have any security. They don't have any proper functionality maintained. But they had to go live. That's why they have gone live like this. Again, some of the information, some of the rare tools that you can get. Seclist, VPScan, WebGate, GAU. GAU helps you out to find out a lot of directories specifically related to JavaScript files, .php files, .NET files, like that. You can get a lot of details from that. Wayback URL will help you out to extract details of each and every URL or the phases where the application was disclosed. I mean, application was released from the developer side. You can get a lot of details from that. Now you start with the proper authentication testing from the login part itself. You check for so let's suppose an authentication testing comprehensive. It will be user enumerations, authentication bypasses through brute forcing. You check the quality of the passwords, remember me functionalities, autocompletes, and then password forms. Various other vulnerabilities and then techniques you can use for authentication bypasses or bypassing the authentications. So these are the books specifically helps me to keep me ahead in terms of security, understanding the vulnerabilities, and then observations which we get, proper techniques you will get in these kind of books. So it's valuable book. If you go through with every book, all these books, you will be good to get a bounty. So of course that's the book. Of course, a lot of courses materials are there that lets you train that you are a proper bug bounty hunter. That if you take a course of them, I don't believe that. Of course, you have to read a lot. You have to learn a lot. Do a lot of things. You can find me out on this LinkedIn QR code and on the email. If you have any questions, please let me know. Okay. Thank you. Oh, so one thing what we missed out, last but not the least. So, okay. I just made a list of the programs which has a bug bounty programs or bounties they are providing onto. So layer 0, first 5 are a cryptocurrency platform which provides bug bounty in this kind of amount. So for single bug, if it is much more critical, which is impacting a lot of things, you will get $15 million for single bug. Single bug. Wormhole like Uniswap, Aurora, Crypto. Apple itself has offered $1 million for critical vulnerabilities. Google alone in 2024 has provided $24 million to bug bounty hunters till now, alone in 2024 actually. So that's all. Thank you.